Hello, friends. Brother George here. This is Monday, May the 4th, and I want to thank you for joining me. I want to share a devotion from one of my wife's favorite verses. It's Job chapter 6, verse 6. Here's what it says: Is bland food eaten without salt? Is there flavor in an egg white? Well, if you've ever eaten a boiled egg, you know there's more flavor in a drink of water than there is in an egg white. And he asked the question, is bland food eaten without salt? I've known people who've had major heart surgery and they've been put on strict diets. And I asked them, well, what do you miss the most? And they'll say, I miss salt more than anything. I would die for salt. Well, you can live without salt, but it just gives flavor to food. So what is Job saying here in this verse? I think it's this. There are some things that we can live without. And we're living in some days right now where we're having to live without certain things, right? But we're also discovering that even though we can live without those things, life sure is better when you have them, right? So what are those things? What are some of those things that just give flavor to life? I think one of the things is obviously is people. It's relationships. Now I know that relationships can be messy and people can rub you the wrong way, but just having people in your life gives flavor to your life. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 11. It says, also, if two lie down together, they can keep warm. But how can one person keep warm alone? When I was a boy, I remember that me and one of my best friends, Ricky Weatherby, went on a camping trip. And Ricky's mother, Betty, bought us sleeping bags from an Army Navy store. They were the cheapest sleeping bags that she could find. They were $6 a piece, and honestly, they were that thick. I tell you, no lie, they were that thick, and it was kind of a cool night. And I remember when I got inside the sleeping bag and tried to sleep, I couldn't sleep. I was miserable. It was so cold. My teeth were chattering. I was just shaking, and finally, I couldn't stand it. And I said, "Ricky, can you sleep?" And he was over there. I could hear his teeth chattering too. And he said, "No, I'm so cold, I can't sleep." And so we got out of those sleeping bags and realized that we could zip those sleeping bags together and make one big sleeping bag. And so we did that, and we climbed in. And when we did, in a little while, that thing warmed up. And I learned that when two lie down together, they can get warm, but one by themselves, they can't. That's how relationships are. Relationships just give warmth to our lives. There's also a verse in Proverbs 18:1 that says, one who isolates himself pursues selfish desires. He rebels against all sound judgment. Think about that. A loner, an antisocial person, is not wise. Now, we may not like certain people, but we need people. There are certain people that may rub us the wrong way, but we still need them in our lives. Matthew chapter 18, verse 20 says this. Jesus said, for where two or more gathered in my name, there I will be in the midst of them. Now, there's a promise you can't claim by yourself. You have to have other people. Life would just be bland without people. People add flavor to our lives. But then a second thing, I think that humor gives flavor to our lives. We can live without humor, but our lives are so much better when we have laughter in our lives. And I was thinking a while ago about a story I heard back in the early days of aviation. This couple had gone to a county fair, and there was a pilot there with one of these old Stearman airplanes, the kind that had the dual open cockpit. And he was taking people up for rides in the plane for $5. And so this man said to his wife, he said, Harriet, I want to go for a ride on that plane. She said, it costs $5. It's too much money. He said, but I want to go. And she said, but $5 is $5. He said, I know, but I don't care. I want to go for a ride on the plane. And so the pilot overheard this couple kind of having this argument, and he said, folks, listen, I'll make you a proposition. I'll take you up for a ride. If you don't say a word in the course of this flight, I won't charge you. You will only have to pay me if you say something during the flight. And so the man said, well, that sounds good to me. What do you think, Harriet? She said, I'll go with that. So they went up in the plane, and the pilot, he performed some of his most death-defying stunts. He turned that plane upside down and flew just over the tops of the trees. He did giant barrel rolls and corkscrews. And when he landed that plane, that couple had not said a word. And the pilot said, well, mister, I've got to hand it to you. I really thought I would at least get a whimper out of you, but you didn't say a word. And the man said, yeah, I almost said something when Harriet fell out of the plane. But $5 is $5. Laughter, just sprinkles flavor into our lives, and it helps us to just endure some things, right? And so humor is one of those things like salt. It gives flavor to our lives. Well, here's another one, I think. It's purpose. We all need a sense of purpose. We need that sense of direction in our life. Without our lives are bland. Peter preached on the day of Pentecost, and it's always fascinated me that at the end of that sermon, one of the Bible says that he was exhorting the people, and he was saying to them, save yourselves from this untoward generation. Wow, what a word. Untoward. What does that mean? A lot of motion, but not headed anywhere, not going anywhere. A lot of activity, but no direction. And how that describes a lot of people's lives today. But it's that sense of direction. It's that sense of purpose that gives our lives meaning and gives flavor to our lives. Well, another one is, and I think we're learning this, is church. Church. We've had to live without it recently, but I think that a lot of us really miss it, and that's a good thing. The Bible says, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. And I've heard people say, some of you listening who are saying, I can't wait until we can get back to church. Church is one of those things that we could live without, but our lives are just so much more palatable, bearable when we have it. There's a lot of help, there's a lot of encouragement, there's a lot of love when we can get together with each other. And when you don't have it, you really miss it. And then the final thing is Christianity. There are people who think that this world would be better off without Christianity. But I'm not one of those people. Jesus said that Christians, you are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. Christianity gives flavor to life. And I know so many contributions that Christianity has made to a world, made to history, made to our culture. We would be so much worse off without these contributions. I mean, you think about how Christianity has given zest and flavor and taste to our lives. Jesus gives us hope. He gives us clarity. He gives us what we were just talking about. He gives us that sense of purpose and meaning and significance. He gives us peace and joy. He gives us forgiveness and help and grace and heaven. And best of all, he gives us himself. And life is just better with him because he's the best friend I know that I've ever had. So you can live without him, but your life is going to be missing something. And some of you can attest to that. There's something missing in your life. Can I say I know what that is? It's Jesus Christ. And Jesus said, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come into you. He's knocking on the door of your heart. He desires to come into your life. And he will fill that hole. He will fill that void in your life if you will ask him to come in and trust him to do it. And I hope that you will do that. Stay safe, and I will see you again on Wednesday.